young people are not always made aware of the fact that just because you don't necessarily engage in party politics doesn't mean you are not political. And so for that reason, I think that young people can be the driving force, but they need to be made to feel comfortable engaging in political conversations.
Very, I think that word is very key.
Yeah.
You said two things there, comfortable and well. So one is, there is a fear of expressing a political opinion. And sometimes it's done so without a solid basis. And sometimes though there were a few people that I spoke to try and get them on the show, but they were afraid to come on and articulate, because often what happens is people react very emotionally when they encounter data or stories or evidence or anecdotes or opinions in counter to their own. So there's a piece around how we're educating our young people to engage in dialectic. So engaging and discussing opinions, which is something they did in the Greek time of Socrates. But the other thing you mentioned was the political world, understanding that. And I asked a question on my Facebook. We're working on a very, very special video that we're going to film next week, that you'll definitely hear about. I can't say much more about that at the moment, but I was asking, what are some of the key things that young people need to hear from us? And someone said something very powerful, which is one of my main points, is what they can do after the election.
So I've got I guess a couple of thoughts on this. There's traditional politics, and then there's non-traditional politics, and politics is as you said, every issue. The thing at the moment with traditional politics is, the reality is we're in a bit of a cycle, right? So young people typically aren't registered versus the older generations. So that means that it's a cycle that, because young people aren't registered, the party politicians, they don't make their manifestos tailored to young people's needs. It's I always think, say you're hosting a barbecue, you've got 20 people coming, that 18 of them who are coming are meat eaters, you don't know about the others, but you're not going to serve a vegetarian main dish because you're I know that, I need to score points with the people who I know are going to vote for me. They're the meat eaters, so I'm going to cook a meat dish. It's literally like that. So because older generations are registered and there'll be turnout, almost double that of young people, which has typically been at 40% in the last general election, that means that they're sort of thinking, well, I'll get an easy win if I make my policies about pensions or, that sort of thing. So if young people, if we get young people turned up in this general election, even if it doesn't sway the result, it means that over the next few years, they're going to have to say, hang on a minute, we've still got millions of young people on the electoral register, and they're going to have to start to shift that. So it might change the overall result, but if it doesn't, it's still doing a huge thing towards making something a bit different there. Definitely. And then there's the non-traditional politics, and that is you can actually influence the system from the outside. So that's kind of what Undivided's been doing, but there are so many other kind of grassroots movements that do that. And yes, we've got this system which we have to kind of buy into, and it's good to vote, and it's really important to shift that for all the reasons I just said, but you can do a lot from the outside as well. You can get things in attention in Parliament, you can get media. If you talk about mental health, if that's an issue you care about, you can do a lot with that. So it's kind of thinking, how can I change the system from the outside as well as the inside?